Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Umbrella Academy Season 1, Episode 7. It's called The Day That Was. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. Where do we begin? Where do you want to start with this? The true identity of Leonard? Is that where we start?
Yeah, go on there. That's where the episode starts.
Yes, although, was it Howard Jenkins?
Harold
Jenkins? I'm not gonna lie. I really want to yell at Leroy Jenkins right now.
Me too.
I'm fighting it. I'm really fighting it, but
yeah,
it's in my mind. I want you to know that. So we get this introduction to, and we don't know it's him. I mean, I think I was guessing that it was him, but
I think it became clear within about 20 seconds.
But it doesn't reveal that it's actually him until you see him as an adult, and it's him, right? It's the actor. It's Leonard, but. You see this kid who's worshipping the Umbrella Academy. He was born on the same day as the kids, but he's not one of the Immaculate Births. He was just...
Which definitively put to rest maybe he has powers.
That's true, it does. He instead has a horrible father who beats him, and he eventually takes revenge and whacks him in the back of the head with a hammer. This is not before, of course, that he tries to meet the Umbrella Academy, and is basically laughed out of the driveway of the house
in a very over the top way by the crowd.
Yes, the crowd are being a bit cruel. Hargrave's also being very cruel, but that's at least on point for him.
It's what I expect from him. Yeah.
Yes, he's just being true to himself. But he goes to prison for 12 years, which takes him up to about 25, and then we cut to 5 days ago when he sees the book being tossed out into the dumpster, and he retrieves it. So that gives us sort of full circle. And here we are. So that's how he got the book, and now we know he's obsessed with everyone. And it actually kind of makes his story with Vanya a bit more interesting to me, because he essentially felt like this normal kid who wanted to be part of them. So in a way, I think he actually genuinely kind of like relates to Vanya.
Yeah. I'm a little conflicted because I get that side of it. I did feel it was a little cliche and over the top as an origin, bit on the nose. So even though it has a couple of things I like, at other points I was like, of course.
Joe, I think I liked about it, and why I don't have any complaints about some of the more typical elements of this origin is the way it's presented. Because sometimes this show goes a little bit Wes Anderson, and I felt like this origin story, it was one of those sequences where it felt so matter of fact. The way he was like obsessed, and then would hit his dad over the head with a hammer, and the way it comes up says he got 12 years, the same way in the first episode it says he got 7. Like it was the beat of almost like the humor of it, even though it's not that funny. Like
I get that. John, I will say is I wish this sequence. I know narratively it can't be. I wish this sequence had been at the start of the end of the last episode of the season, just to really bookend it, with that opening segment in the first episode that was very similar to this.
Yeah. Although by the end of the episode, we know he was the one who was going to end the world, because he gets his eye damaged, and we see that he's got a bandage over his eye. It's just enough to tell us that that's him. He's going to have the eye. Because he takes Vanya, because their story kind of is mostly the same. He overhears them talking about him, because obviously Five's in the house now talking to them about this character. But he still leaves with Vanya. Vanya's still upset. She makes the street lamps come over.
Is that enough to have changed the rest of the day for them, that he heard Five mention his name?
I think so, because I think that's why he takes her to his grandma's house as opposed to back to wherever,
Yeah, because obviously, that nothing else changes for them.
Yeah, he overhears his name being mentioned, so he knows he has to maybe hide, essentially.
Sure.
They go to the grandma's house instead of his house again. So when the rest show up looking for him, he's not there.
Yeah, and it's why Vanya doesn't find the journal with all the stuff about her in it.
Exactly. He takes her out to the grandma's house in the lake because he wants her to... It's basically that scene from X-Men First Class where Magneto's trying to move the satellite. She's on the pier, and she's trying to move the boat, and she's got her hand out. I did appreciate she started laughing about halfway through, because I thought,
it's just ridiculous.
It feels ridiculous. She looks constipated, but she knows she looks constipated, so she reacts appropriately. But they go and get some food, and we have this very random... Do you know what? This is so random. I'm almost willing to bet that he paid these guys to do this.
It was my first impression as well. Immediately, I'm like, he set this up. He's trying... Because I think he's already figured out, okay, it's tied to her emotions, right? And he's like, right, how to get a reaction out of her. I think he thought that she might trigger a bit quicker and, save him before he got any actual lasting harm.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, maybe. It was so. I mean, maybe also just turned out it was a random event, and that's fine. But it felt so specific that I was like, I feel like he set this up somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're beating him up. You know, they grab her ass, and you know they're beating him up. And as soon as this starts happening, it starts raining, and I sort of smirked and went, "Oh, here it is! It's kicking in. The mighty Thor." It's about to unleash. And she just runs.
She'd make a great Thor.
What, Ellen Page?
Yeah, why not?
Sure. But she runs in and she essentially does like a shock wave that knocks everyone back. It's like a bubble, and it looks great in the rain because you get this sort of bubble effect in the rain.
Yeah, it does look good.
And they all get knocked back, and you know one of them looks. I mean, some of them might be dead because one of them looks like they hit the wall.
Yeah, it took quite a rough hit.
Quite a splat against it, because there's one that hits the car and it looks painful but doesn't look murderous. But there's one where I think the first guy hits like a wall and you see like a splat of blood, and I was like, oh, is he just dead?
Yeah, it's the concrete wall. Like it's like that looked bad.
Yeah, maybe did. I don't blame her. I mean, she's not in control of anything yet. I mean,
no, this was just a reaction. I'm not going, oh, she's a killer. I'm like, she may have accidentally killed someone.
Yeah. Whereas otherwise, when people say, Diego, did you kill someone? It's like, yeah, you should be asking that question.
Yeah.
He's like, how could you ask me that, Alison? He's like, well, you do go around with knives. Like,
He's like, yeah, fair point.
So that was their story. But I mostly liked how that was handled. And then. We have the other characters, and unlike last time, they are a bit more teamed up this episode. Alison goes with Diego and Five to Leonard's house and tries to figure out what's going on. And there's some humor with Diego jumping in the window, and it's like the door was unlocked. Why did you?
Yeah, the other two go around to clearly like a different door.
Yeah,
around the back, and then he just jumps through.
But they find like the toys of themselves melted with like melted heads and stuff like that, and
yeah.
All sorts. It's like, okay, this dude's a complete serial killer. Alison's checking in. It's like, oh, Vanya's not showing up to practice. Oh dear. So they actually get, he's had a relative. He's got a grandma somewhere. Let's go check that place out.
Yeah, Diego actually can do this research.
Yes, apparently he can. He tries to, because he gets the file, of course, in the first place from the Apache's partner. And he kind of warns him that, hey, like your fingerprints were all over that crime scene. Like, I don't think you did it, but I'm warning you.
Yeah. He's like, look, I don't like you, but I wouldn't have thought you'd ever have killed her.
Yeah. So that's something we pointed out when that happened. Is that, his hands were all over the place.
Yeah.
So all this stuff's good, and even though it's meant to be all of them going to like get Vanya, Five, succumbs to his injuries. He's got shrapnel in his stomach from his great escape, and then Diego gets arrested. All the cops show up at the house. So Alison's on her own, which is kind of an interesting twist of fate, because it's like she's been the one who's been kind of against Leonard the whole time. So to Vanya, it's going to look like her just continuing her current line of thinking.
It is, yeah. It ends with her driving off, presumably towards the cabin.
That's where I think she's going. Yeah.
Yeah. On her own, which is. I feel like she's in danger because she's on her own now.
Because the way I'm feeling is like, at least with one of them, either Diego, Five, whoever, one more of them there to confirm the story, then Vanya might listen to them, right? But Alison on her own, because she's been constantly like, hey, I don't trust this Leonard guy, I feel like Vanya's going to be like, hey, you've been saying this the whole time, what don't you like about him? She won't really listen to any of it, she'll dismiss it. Especially now that he got himself beat up over her. Like, he's like, no, I trust him because he does all these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see why she would, because he is playing the part effectively.
Although if Alison's got that file with her with a photograph, then
that would help. That
would help, yes. Bring the evidence.
Yeah, although she'd probably still say, no, you just doctored this.
Evidence is important. But yeah, so that's all ticking off. And then on the other side of things, because obviously Luther still finds that he was sent to the moon for no reason, but because Alison's not there to kind of soften the blow and comfort him, it's left to Klaus. Which immediately I went, oh no, this is going to go really bad.
Yeah.
Klaus instead of Alison. This is disaster zone.
Yes.
Oh, actually, that reminds me. I did really like when Five revealed that he knew what Claire's name was. When he was like, oh, everyone's going to die, including Claire, so we have to work together. And she's like, you know my daughter's name? He's like, of course I know your daughter's name. I hope I live long enough to meet her. And I was like, oh, that was actually kind of touching. He's been keeping tabs.
Yeah. He's a crazy killer, but I mean, he still clearly cares about his family.
Yeah, so no, I thought it was a touching moment. It was one of the moments that I forgot to mention last episode that I really liked. Is when they're all trying to get Luther to tell them what happened to them the first time they tried to stop it, and he doesn't want to tell them. He kind of whispers it to his drink. He's like, "We all died."
Yeah.
What was that? We all died. So no, I like that was funny, but. So Klaus kind of starts off in the same place. He wants tied up. He wants to get clean, like he did, but he has to go and find Luther because Luther gets drunk and goes wandering off to a nightclub.
He's gone for a rave.
He's gone for a rave, and he's went topless. He's got his hairy man beast chest out, and it's just it's exciting some of the ladies. He ends up kissing someone at the end of this episode, but it's just this random raver girl as opposed to Allison.
Yeah, it's a nice parallel though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the last one was the healthy, happy ending that felt like it was meaningful, and this is just some random thing to.
I think that's throughout this episode. There's a lot of this, that he's got this kiss with someone else. There was Allison's driving off alone here, whereas last time it was the two of them driving off together to the airport. There's all these parallels that play out nicely. That things have changed, but there's still these similarities to what the day ended up being.
Yeah, and Klaus has like he's trying to be strong. He throws the pill away because Luther's trying to get drunk and high, and he ends up chasing after it. And he has this moment where he sees Dave like lying on the floor dying, like in Vietnam, and he ends up waking up in I'll call it a dream, but that's not necessarily accurate given who Klaus is. It's more an actual connection with the afterlife because of his power. And the barber's there. He runs in. He's talking to this girl who's kind of God.
Yeah, this is maybe my first disappointment of things they changed from the comic.
Oh, really?
Because they play this pretty much this exact thing out, except the God isn't a little girl. It's just this crazy cowboy.
Okay.
Which had a lot more comedic value.
No.
Yeah, God's a cowboy.
I can't compare, but
it just played a lot funnier.
But the barber turns out to be his father. He's like, "Oh, I've got a stupid son who can communicate with the dead, and it took you all this time to summon me. Come on, you're such a disappointment, Klaus." And they basically debate about how awful a father he is, and he's like, no, you have to save the world. Like, he basically admits that he killed himself to bring them all together because it's the only way they'd all come back together. And I was like, yeah, all right, that sounds like you.
I mean, it worked.
It did work, because Klaus says what you couldn't have picked up before. He's like, would you have answered? And I'm like, yeah, most of them wouldn't have.
No, not at all.
No, you'd have got Luther back down, sure, but like,
yeah, Luther had been down in a second.
Yeah, which, by the way, his takeaway from Luther found he sent him to the moon for no reason because he found all the files that he'd been sending back.
That wasn't my best move.
I should have burned them. That was his takeaway. I should have hid the evidence.
That cracked me up. I love how Klaus is like, that's your takeaway from this, really?
Yeah, even Klaus, the junkie nut job is like, what? Not seriously, old man. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, and of course, like, he wakes up just before he's about, hey, Klaus, this is very important. This next bit of information is crucial, life or death. Fade away. Yeah.
Cliche, but funny. So
it's funny because Klaus is like screaming, no, I can't wake up, not now.
Yeah.
As you do. So yeah, so the left all kind of spread out again at the end of the episode. Diego's in a jail cell. Klaus is wandering, looking for Luther. Luther's kissing this random girl. Allison's in the car heading. Vanya's in the hospital with Leonard, who's got his eye removed or damaged or whatever.
Yeah,
that's kind of where we end this episode. And it's funny because obviously the one thing we've not spoken about yet is Cha-Cha and Hazel. And I think what's interesting about their plot is that nothing actually changed. We just saw it from Hazel's perspective. It was the same plot, and I like that
because nothing impacted them.
Exactly, yeah. I like that. I like that just in a mechanical sense from episode to episode. It's like, okay, the rest of the characters were dealing with the idea that this one change affected how the day went for all of them. I love the idea that for two characters who are separate from them, that we do it in a different way. We tackle that. Okay, well, mechanically for these characters, instead of changing things slightly and going down like a rabbit hole where things diverge, we'll just do the same thing, but we only showed half the story the first time, so we'll show the other half the story this time. I like that.
I like this. I want to credit this episode in that there's a lot of points where I was going, oh, this is just the same, and then it cuts ahead because it's like, nope, nothing changed here. You don't need to see it.
Yeah.
And it
Did that a
always
few
went
times.
just long enough where I thought, oh, is this where it kind of goes into feeling repetitious, like I've seen this already, and then it moves on every time. It was perfectly done.
Yeah, because we see him get his order to kill Cha Cha. He makes his decisions. We see the whole scene with the waitress, and ask her to run away with them.
I really like the scene in the woods, where he's bent down to tie his shoelace. But he gives this speech about how, which we heard last time, I think, or at least some of it, about how oh, don't you want to just leave it all behind? You want to find the right person, and obviously Chacha realizes she thinks he's talking about her.
Yeah, she gets very upset because obviously the bathroom scene happens again where Cha Cha comes in and gets knocked out. She wakes up handcuffed to the radiator, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to leave and I'm quitting," and he explains it to her. And Cha Cha gets pretty upset. She's like, "Oh, you're going to run away with that old whore," or something like that, she says, Like, really, really severe language coming from her. And she's, like, really upset about this. And she's like, "Hey, you best kill me. If you leave here and I'm still alive, I'm going to find you and I'm going to kill you and I'm going to kill her. I'm going to kill her slowly in front of you."
I can't wait to see this confrontation. Because it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about it for me, though, is it's diverging more and more from the main plot of the show. I have to imagine that somehow it'll play back into the main plot eventually.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe Hazel will end up helping somehow, or whatever.
I mean, it wasn't until this episode that the Vanya Leonard stuff is suddenly, main plot.
That's true. And to be fair, I actually kind of like how it's tied in for the most part.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued, and I will give them credit that I do feel that this season is ramping up appropriately. Like, this was episode 7. I feel like 6 and 7 have made it really feel like it is building towards a big conclusion of some kind.
Yeah. No, I really like these as a pair of episodes where they were played off each other.
Yeah, I agree. It almost felt like the first 5 were mostly set up for the back half, and then the back half is really kind of playing with it. And assuming, because where we leave off at the end of this one, it feels like we're in this place with all the characters where we're not calming down again, not really. So I think the momentum through the season has actually been quite good, even though some of the pacing in each episode in and of themselves has been a little bit shaky here or there. I think the pacing as a season overhaul and how it's moving forward is actually pretty solid.
It kind of goes back to what we were saying for the runtime is actually perfect in terms of where everything is. It's just the way it's split into episodes.
Yeah, it should just be split into more episodes.
Yeah.
But no, I really I like this quite a bit.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So it had some impressive things. I guess if I was to critique anything here, is maybe I don't know if I need to see as much as cool as Vanya's power was. I don't know if I need to see those moments again when she was thinking about them in the hospital. It was almost just so that the montage at the end, when it was cut between all the characters, it was doing something interesting in her part by showing the powers again.
Yeah. It could have cut those out.
Yeah, it gave you a few new shots to try and make it feel different from the first time, but for the most part, it was the same, and it just felt like, we're cutting between all the characters and what they're doing right now.
We need to have something for her.
Yeah, and sitting there in the hospital wasn't apparently enough. Even though she gets the big final sort of reveal where it's he turns his head and it's his eye.
Yeah, and even like Allison's just driving a car.
That's true.
Like it's not that exciting on visually, right?
Yeah, I guess it's because the excitement. She's on the way to Vanya. She's on the way to confront, and that's what.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not so much that Vanya's was feeling lacking. Maybe they just felt the whole montage was feeling lacking. So this was an easy way to put some spicier things.
Yeah, it could be.
So I don't know. But episode was solid though. Like I think of the season. So there you go. That is episode 7 of Umbrella Academy. So we'll be back the day after tomorrow with episode 8, so you can look forward to that. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz. If you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, you can do that on patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can become a patron for as little as $1 per month, and you get some bonuses, you get some stuff early, but mostly you get a warm, mailly, fuzzy feeling in your heart.
Or appropriate substitute if you don't have one of those.
Yes. If you like Connor.
Hey, there's others of us out there.
That's us, guys. Thank you very much once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?